I think there's a lost art of the voicemail. I think that Michael left an amazing voicemail earlier on in the movie.
Yeah.
remember the 90s when you would call a girl and then you would practice the voicemail, or you would think about what you'd say in advance?
Like Swingers?
Yeah.
Oh, that was bad.
Yeah, I think there was an actual episode on Sex and the City, and don't ask me how I remember this, about the perfect voicemail. So
nice.
She was dating a guy, and they would talk about how he leaves the perfect voicemails. And there's an art to that, which is kind of appreciated in having the nostalgia now, because no one really leaves voicemails. It's like, call me now.
And if anybody sees a voicemail on their phone, they're like, ugh. I was like, why do I have to, like, why'd you call me to tell me to call you back? I see that I have a missed call from you right here. Yeah. It's,
sometimes I'm saying, I'm going to bring voicemails back. I'm just going to leave people voicemails. And I have some friends who leave funny voicemails, so I always appreciate getting them. So I'm like, if they call, I'm like, yes, they're going to leave a funny voicemail.
Do you remember my voicemail in college for all those years?
No.
So I was like, hey, you reached Mark Hoffmeyer's cell phone. Mark Hoffmeyer's not here right now. But when Mark Hoffmeyer gets his message, Mark Hoffmeyer will call you back.
Well, you also did the Bon Jovi song, It's My Life, I think.
Yeah. That was DJ and Jeff, and we sang it. That was my ringtone. That went off one time in a very quiet and busy place, and it's just, it's my life! And people just started laughing. That was bad. No, but you're right. It's it's interesting, too, where it's 97, but they're still email and phone, so it still feels oddly, it doesn't feel totally dated.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, aside from the voicemail, I would say, and then the emails. But
it does feel dated, and I remember it being happy and fun, and then I watched it again, and there were points in the movie that just hurt you, that are hard to watch. I mean, they really twist the knife in this thing. There were a couple of lines. Michael was like, I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're here with me. And after they had the quick breakup after the email fiasco, so she caused it, and then he tells her that I'm so glad you're here. And you can see her eyes. She does great eye work in this one.
Roberts?
Yeah. You can read the motions. And then Kimmy actually did the line, you're the only person I trust.
Not good.
No, she's got to question her, her trust and who she listened to. And then can we talk about that lunch scene for a minute at the crab place with Rupert Everett after the rehearsal?
Yeah,
where he just dominates. The brilliance of that scene, I think, is you had the funny story, and then you had the musical number, but then you had that just complete feeling of uncomfortable. I was just so uncomfortable because they kept exchanging glances. Everyone's having a good time except for Michael and Julia Roberts' character. And she was almost like ashamed while they were singing. So it's these two layers. And I thought that was so smart whenever you can have a memorable fun layer and then a comfortable layer on top of each other in the same scene.
Yeah, you're right. You have this. I think that's a combo of the movie. In the beginning, you have the music video that's all bright and shiny. But during this dinner, you have the sisters or the cousins, the rest of the family smiling like they're in a regular rom-com movie. But then you get Michael just shooting daggers, just being a jealous little punk at the table.
Yeah.
And I think that sums up the movie too. And also, so you get the rom-com vibes, and you get the kind of darker tones, and then you get a dance number or a song number, because there's a lot of those. But then you get just Rupert Everett being charming and just really messing with Julianne, because he's like, I'm here, I got your back, but I'm gonna make it really uncomfortable for you. I think it's a good friend, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And he was having fun, and you got to have fun with your friends sometimes. It means you like them. You got to bust their chops. So you've got these different layers and these different storylines. But at what point, when you flip a genre upside down, or you take a different turn on a genre like a romantic comedy, is this still a romantic comedy?
See, I guess with the classification of movies right now. So I guess if we're in a blockbuster, yeah. I mean, I guess if there was a romantic comedy section, this would be there, because it just follows all the tropes. I think we're so used to, like, horror movies, right? I mean, there's so many variations of it, but you just kind of all put them under that banner. But
right.
This really isn't. But the problem is, it's my best friend's wedding. You see there's the pratfalls in it too. I mean, there's the rom-com pratfalls. There's the poster. There's the traditional narrative. There's the chase at the end. So it's like, it also embraces the tropes of the rom-com. I'm saying tropes a lot, but
it's cool. It feels like a Judd Apatow movie where it's kind of funny, it's kind of sincere. Yeah. There's some romance involved. Judd Apatow walks the line of so many different types of movies. That's what it kind of felt like.
You know how refreshing it is not just to have some schlubby man complaining for 2 hours too in a Judd. It's so much better having Julianne in it. Like Seth Rogen going me for 2 hours as opposed to
Seth Rogen landing a beautiful woman that's way out of his league.
Yeah, and just being miserable. And listen, I watch those movies. I like those movies, but no, I think you're right. Yeah, it's these rom-coms, but then there's also some. It's an interesting one, man. It covers. I think it walks in both lanes though. It drives in both lanes. This movie. So I think it would have to fall under a rom-com. Now, if you said to me comedy, I'm not going to argue with you because, I mean, that makes sense too.
It was funny. There's a lot of good physical comedy in this one too.
And it just, so like she falls out of a chair after sending the worst email on the planet. So it's.
My favorite when she woke up hungover and just slammed the entertainment center door.
Yeah. Oh man.
I mean, she fell off the bed. She ran into people at the reception.
Waiter. Yeah, knocked the waiter out.
Yeah, Julia Roberts, some people look good when they're running and some people look like they're just running or, they don't look like it's quite natural. She looks really good running.
Yeah.
I'm surprised she didn't do more action type movies because she's got a good physicality about her. Like the part where she was chasing after them.
There's some good runners out there. Yeah, you're right. That's interesting. She could have been the like Tom Cruise-esque.
Pointed fingers.
Oh God. But yeah, this is I don't want to say it's an underappreciated performance because I mean this movie made $300 million worldwide and she was nominated for awards, but I think it's better. This is weird, but sometimes like Ford vs Ferrari, it was nominated for Best Picture, it won Oscars, it made $300 million, it has like the highest tomato meter audience IMDb scores you could think of, but I still feel like it's underrated. That's what I think about Robert's performance in this because like all right, so like Erin Brockovich, she won her Oscar. And that one's great. I mean, based on a real character, I think the Oscars love that. There's more drama to it, more of a message in there. But I think her performance in this is better because
I agree.
She okay.
It's wider. It's wider ranging. She hit every emotion: anger, bristling, humor, vulnerability in the hallway with Paul Giamatti, which is probably my favorite scenes in the movie.
His 90s, man. His 90s roles. Truman Show, Saving Private Ryan, Safe Men. He had a good private parts.
Yeah, any cameo with Paul Giamatti, I'm all in. She did sexy. She did neurotic. The whole gamut of emotions was here in this movie.
Yeah, in the beginning, confident when she's the food critic, which probably messes her up in her life because she spends her whole life with people afraid of her because if she lives in New York City, she lives in New York City and she's the food critic for a prominent place. I mean, New York City, restaurants need those reviews. So if she gives them a bad review, so she's kind of used to playing God with people inadvertently. I mean, if that's your life.
She gets what she wants. You're right. Yeah. She gets what she wants.
And so, who knows what that does, but so she shows the confidence, the anger, the sadness. It also, she was probably the biggest actress in the world at the time. I mean, Meg Ryan was still around. There are a few other names, but she had the most insane run. And then you're asking her to play not the hero. Like there's an edge, I guess, to her character. And that's a bold move, I think, in 97. Right,
she was always the sweetheart before that. Yeah.
I gave it in Pretty Woman. She was the phrase, now the prostitute with the heart of gold. So it's just, she had an edge in that one too. That's it. Maybe Julia Roberts' characters have an edge, like Runaway Bride. She was always running away from stuff. Well, never mind.
They recut this movie. The original ending, everyone hated her.
I hate her. Yeah.
Because they didn't have enough of Rupert Everett as the counterbalance and the conscience. And then the original ending had her falling in love with another guy or meeting another guy at
John
the wedding.
Corbett. Sex in the City.
Yeah. Another Sex in the City reference. There you go. So they had that at the end, but everyone's like, "What do you mean? She shouldn't fall in love. She just put this poor couple through hell for the last 90 minutes. What are you doing?"
Yeah.
So this has to be one of the most brilliant rewrites in the last 30 years in terms of what they were able to do, and ending the movie with her, in the arms of her friend, just having the platonic love, and it's just tied it together so perfectly that I'm just so happy this was a success, and they got that feedback in the viewing session.
The director said one of the studio executives called it a 40 million reshoot. I said, but it didn't cost 40 million. He said, no, that's what you've added to your box office. So they went back and reshot a few scenes. But you know what's interesting too? It's at the end she finds her platonic love or friendship with Rupert Everett, and you're just like, yeah, this is great. This is awesome, because he just takes over a room in this role, and he originally only had a couple lines in this film, and so on the oral history of this, they really beefed up his role, and it's weird how it's a very bittersweet ending. But since he's singing, and since everyone looks so pretty and it's so brightly lit and the music is so good, you leave happy, but then it's actually quite bittersweet. And that's this movie on a whole. It's this weird.
They had loose ends at the end. They had loose ends.
Yeah.
It's like it wasn't a nice tidy finish, but the kind of way it was, because when Michael came back to say bye to her, it's like he was really saying bye, is what it felt like. Like, it's over.
Well, they can't come back. And also, the two of them seemed like they could text each other whenever they wanted as sort of backups, or to get out of something, or, kept them in a sort of arrested development, if that makes sense. It took a force of nature like Kimmy to get him out of that. You kind of got to say, after that, you have a family get together and Julianne comes over. It's going to be weird. Hey, remember that time you torpedoed our wedding and tried to get me fired and made me sing karaoke? Like, it's going to be.
And you kissed my husband on our wedding day.
Oh, yeah. And also, Kimmy they had a bathroom scene. But in the bathroom, she was originally much nicer. She just kind of went, okay, we're cool. We'll go back. And audiences hated that, so they beefed up the bathroom scene.
And they needed it for her, because she was so gullible and manipulated the whole movie. She needed some kind of redemption.
And Kimmy's beaten up. Kimmy's winning that fight. Cameron Diaz is legit. I think Julianne will be in some trouble.
Yeah, she had the rage going on. Like, she the burning righteous anger on her wedding day.
And legit too, because she's been not hoodwinked, but she's been deceived, and that's the worst, because she knowingly went too much with her by making her bridesmaid and keeping her close and doing all that.
Yeah.
But still, like, she did that thinking, I'll win her over, or I'll keep her close. And you know what annoys me too is Julianne's like, you always had your doubts, and Kimmy's like, of course I had my doubts. Like, why? No, if someone's like, nah, it's cool. Like, no, it's not. I like that Kimmy admitted to that.
That's a big pill to swallow. I spent some time going back and forth on that relationship. Like, I have to ask, is it weird to, but I can't say that's weird. It might be weird for some people and not weird with others. It just depends on what kind of friendships you have. But yeah, that is a big pill to swallow, to have your former flame as your maid of honor in a movie, and they're still obviously close. They're smooching, they're dancing.
Our song.
He walks in on her changing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was awkward.
Yeah, George, I got him. That's just that is a weird relationship. Like, even if you're the most trusting human being on the planet, and you have total respect and trust with your significant other, and they have that kind of relationship, it's gonna be always something.
Yeah.
Funky.
And I can't talk for everyone. I can only talk for myself, because there's probably some people out there that would be perfectly fine with it.
Yeah.
But I think I would go on a limb. The average person would still, in the back of their mind, be like, this is kind of weird.
What are you doing here, Julianne? But yeah, she's man. And also, I just want to talk about, so this came out in 97, and you're watching this again, and I think, to put in the context of I don't think a lot of people remember the 90s, how driven they were by Tom Cruise movies, Will Smith movies, Sandra Bullock movies, Hanks. Adam Sandler, Tom Hanks. That's when names carried movies. And I would say, arguably, Julia Roberts was she was top 3 at the time. Top 5, I would say. I mean, she comes out with My Best Friend's Wedding, which makes $300 million without inflation. So let's say $500 million without, and then she goes on to do Conspiracy Theory, which was another big hit. Then she stepped on to Stepmom, which made 100 mil. Then she did
Sleeping
Notting,
with the